Hey guys, French booktuber speaking. I'm here today to do a top 10 Tuesday by an idea by the Rock and the Bookish, link down below. So the theme for this week is gateway books, I don't know how to pronounce gateway, sorry. Gateway books or gateway authors, or books that got you into reading or brought you back into reading. So let's start. I think we will do this chronologically, So first I got really into reading what I can remember and what I own. I mean, like books I own, because when I was a small kid I read a lot from the public library, so I don't have much books in my own bookshelf that I owned when I was little. So the first that I remember really loving and that really ignited my reading passion is obviously Harry Potter. So that's the first book, for those who don't know. So yeah, Harry Potter, I mean, starting age 9, I think, I just couldn't stop reading Harry Potter, and it went on until I was like 15 or 16. I mean, I basically read for 7 years or 8, I don't know, I'm not very good at math, Harry Potter. Just the whole series, on and on and on and on again. How psycho is it? I mean, wow. When I think about it, I mean, how all those years of reading wasted for Harry Potter. Not wasted, but I mean, I had so much time for all the books. I didn't have a job. I mean, I didn't have a job or anything to, I just could read all day, and I just read Harry Potter. I mean, it's a good thing, but yeah. So Harry Potter, I owe this series so much. I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am today without Harry Potter, so yeah, well. And the book in the series that really was important to me was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's my favorite book ever, maybe. I mean, this stupid question on what book would you bring in an isolated island, that will be it. I can read this book over and over without, I almost know every word of this book and I know everything, but I just love it. It's my own personal Bible if Harry Potter was a religion, So yeah, and when I get stressed or when I'm sad and lonely, I just cuddle with this book. And mainly the first chapter. The first chapters are so good, the rescue from Harry and and the Quidditch World Cup. I mean, it's so good. I mean, it's really brilliant, and there is nothing so wrong happening except for the first chapter. But well, yeah, this book, right. Afterwards, well, it was with school classics that brought me to read more classics. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but no, sorry. So yeah, for the classic, the first classic that I read is in French, obviously, is L'écume des jours by Boris Vian. It's it's a bit of an absurd novel, and it's one of my favorite books also. And I just, when I picked this book for school, I thought that I would be bored, classics, and I just, went in my bed and just laughed so much, and I couldn't imagine that a classic book could make me laugh, basically. It was so good, and I laughed so hard, and it's so bittersweet, and the story gets so sad, but it's so good, really. I don't know if it's translated, but if it is, just check it out, please. Check it out. Next is Dangerous Liaisons. I don't know how you say, Liaisons dangereuses by Chaderlo de la Clos, and it's so good. It's like, it's so modern. Like, I mean, it was written like in the 19th century, and it's so modern. I mean, you just have the impression to read something like Gossip Girl or something. I mean, there is plotting and love stories, complicated love stories, impossible love stories, and mean characters and lovely characters, and it's amazing, just amazing, and it just ignited my love for classics, and it just reignited it when I needed it. So yeah, I loved it. Next is the book that brought me to read British literature, British classic literature, is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I loved it. I loved the movie. I loved the series with Colin Firth. Obviously, Colin Firth is my, it's like a book boyfriend, but in series. A series boyfriend? I don't know. TV show boyfriend? I don't know. Well, anyway, Pride and Prejudice was so good, and I had a hard time with the beginning because I bought it like when I was 16, and when I was 16 I could read Harry Potter because I memorized everything in French, so I could read it in English. But Jane Austen is way harder than that, so I waited like 3 years to be able to really read it and enjoy it with the full understanding of what was going on. So yeah, it was brilliant, and everything was already said about this book, so it's just one of the best books in my life. So next is also obvious and famous and everything, and it brought me back to reading because in high school, like I said, apart from Harry Potter, I didn't read much. I was so busy with other things, other teenage things. Oh my gosh. But when I started college, I fell in love with Twilight. Not ashamed. I mean, this book, you can say everything you want about this book, but about this series, it's for me, to me it stays amazing. Really, it remains one of the best books that I read, the best YA books. Obviously, you can't compare Pride and Prejudice and Twilight. It's not possible. Doesn't compute. Nope. So yeah, Twilight. I fell in love with Edward like 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times maybe. Edward was my first book boyfriend. Yeah, not ashamed either. I was obviously Team Edward and not Team Jacob. So yeah, this I just couldn't. I had so much work back in college, and I just found the time somehow to binge read the 4 books, and I was so glad that I did it. And really, it changed. It kind of changed my life, because Twilight deals about the pure love, a beautiful love story. And just, you learn that there is so much more than that in a love story than what you already experienced. So it basically learned me how to love, and it showed me what was love and what wasn't. And it was a very important book in my life. So haters gonna hate, but I love this book, and it's really, really, really important book for me. Moving on is a book that went under the radar of so many people, but not to me. It's Prep by Curtis Sittenfeld. I love Prep. It's about a girl in college, and it was my first book about the college life, you know, way before Fangirl and everything. Although Fangirl is the best book ever about college, don't get me wrong. And Prep is a very good book, and it brought me back to reading too. I mean, it was like a year after Twilight, I had a huge reading slump when I didn't read, and I had so many exams to pass, to undertake, that I just couldn't find time to read. But once my exams were over, I just picked Prep, and ever since, I think I didn't have major reading slumps that I had back in the beginning of college. So yeah, it's not a well-known book, but to me it's very important, and I won't forget this book. I really won't. Next is what brought me to read Dystopia. Then again, not original. It's Hunger Games, but I don't have the first book. I borrowed it at a public library, and I never got to buy it afterwards. It's on my wish list everywhere, on Amazon, on the book depository, on everywhere, but I haven't bought it yet. So here's the second book, The Catching Fire, which I love too. And it brought me to read YA in a more broad way speaking, you know, in a broader way speaking. Because before there was Twilight, yeah, but Twilight was the first, the series that I read, and I just didn't read YA afterwards. I mean, it was a long time afterwards that I just focused on YA literature. So Hunger Games helped a lot with that, and I thought that, yeah, Twilight and Hunger Games, maybe YA is becoming a thing. Yeah, right. What a Sherlock Holmes I am. So right, this book was also very important, and it brought me to read Shatter Me, the Shatter Me series, which is also a dystopian series with a world that is way less developed and well built than Hunger Games, but Shatter Me was a mix of Hunger Games and Twilight. You know, you put them in a mixer and you got a kind of Shatter Me, right? It's a kind of book recipe. So right, see, this book was also a book that brought me to read more YA. And now, thanks to Twilight, Hunger Games, Shatter Me series, I read only YA books, basically. So I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but for me it's you know, I'm happy with where I am now. Right, so that's about it for my Top 10 Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So merci beaucoup et à bientôt.